Hi, I'm Landry Ethredge, founder and CEO of Ethredge Counseling Group, and I am here with Dr. Etta Gantt, and we're going to do a little bit of an interview today. Etta and I are both therapists in Charleston, South Carolina. We're located on James Island. We mostly work with women in their 20s, 30s, and 40s who are finding life to be unmanageable. And so I wanted to take this opportunity to get to know Etta a little bit better, or allow you to get to know Etta a little bit better. And so I was going to start off, Etta, by asking what's kind of your background is. How did you come to therapy, or how did you decide to become a therapist?
That's a great question. I kind of had like an inkling for it since I was really young. I knew I wanted to help people, and I loved talking to people about their problems and emotions and things. When I was a kid, I was like, I want to talk about people's dreams when I grow older.
I love that.
And
talk about people's dreams.
Yeah, and my mom was like, oh, you could be a psychologist, which I'm not a psychologist, I'm a counselor, but it's what probably started me on my path. And then I was a camp counselor throughout most of high school and college years. Yeah. And for me, that was such an incredible experience. Our whole goal was to provide as much love and as much of a judgment-free zone as possible. Mm-hmm. And I saw just through that how people, or the kids, really bloomed and would grow within just a week's time of really us just treating them with so much love and respect. Mm-hmm. And when I learned about counseling and the core conditions we use, empathy and unconditional positive regard and congruence, which is genuineness, it really resonated with me as well. I believe that those are so powerful too. So that's what really sharpened my path to get specifically into counseling.
Can you say those three things again?
Yeah. Empathy, unconditional positive regard, and congruence or genuineness. So it's one the same, but congruence sounds a little bit more complicated.
Yeah. I love that. So that's sort of your core framework for working with clients.
Yeah. Yeah, because I'm a person-centered counselor, which that is our guiding principles is using those three core conditions. So before anything else I do in therapy, it's within that realm. That's where I'm always focused on and making sure that I am applying.
So a person-centered therapist.
Yep.
Yeah, I love it. Tell me a little bit about your backgrounds. I know you've worked in a few different types of some various different settings, right, in the past.
Yeah, so I've worked in, I feel almost every single type of setting.
Well-rounded.
Yeah, sure. From the jail and prison and juvenile justice system, to college counseling, and that's also graduate school students, to private practice, nonprofit. So I've seen people of all walks of life with all different kinds of varying backgrounds and mental health issues, which is great because, like I said, with person-centered counseling, it is all about opening your mind to people and getting to know everyone as a completely unique individual. And so that is an easy approach to use in all different types of settings, because those conditions are really monumental to anybody that you work with.
So you're really using those core principles of being a person-centered therapist. Sounds like it's really allowed you to work with really all types of people in all types of settings.
Yeah.
From jail to private practice.
Yeah.
And those are pretty different.
Yeah.
I love it. Do you have any types of clients that you feel are really your specialty, or do you feel like you can kind of work with anybody? Or
well, I certainly do feel I can work with anybody, and I love getting to know different types of people. But I love working through really difficult emotions like shame and guilt. I feel those are two of our most crippling emotions that also really seep into the way that we think and alter our thoughts and behaviors. And so easing some of that guilt and shame is something that is really important to me in the therapy space, as well as grief and trauma. So those deep, deep, deep emotional wounds that also impact the way we think, the messages we receive, and the behaviors that we act in relation to those.
Yeah, I love that. Well, I feel like guilt and shame is sort of like the heart of what brings so many people to therapy, whether they are kind of conscious of that or not. And I know, like, through the work of Brene Brown, that I feel like we're a little bit more aware of like what shame is. But yeah, I love that you really love to work with those types of pretty heavy topics, which probably go hand in hand with your work with clients who have trauma or grief or experiencing grief. I love it.
Yeah.
What do you like to do to take care of yourself? What are your self-care practices or hobbies? What do you like to do?
Yeah. So self-care and wellness have become like an extremely important part of my life since I started grad school, which is really difficult stuff going on in my life, and also learning how to constantly be in other people's pain and sit with them with that. And so wellness had to be a priority for me, and it still is now. But taking care of myself physically is really, really important to me. It helps me relieve like a lot of tension and stress in my body. So I do a lot of yoga and go on lots of walks, occasional running, but not if I have my dog, because he starts jumping up and down the whole time. And I love reading. I do love being creative with art and watercolor and stuff. I will say, like, haven't been doing that as much recently, but I have been doing a lot of coloring, and I just love art in general, so I like just being around it. I love going to museums and things like that, which my husband does too, so it's great for both of us. And yeah, it's like being outside.
I hear that you're like kind of taking care of yourself in all different sorts of ways, which is actually reminding me, audience does not know this, but Etta was recently talking about the wellness wheel, which is like this you're saying this concept of wellness in all of these. How many? 8, 9?
I want to say 9. It kind of, some of them can be together or separate.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like maybe 9 different areas. And as you're listing some of your hobbies and self-care practices, I'm like, oh wait, she's doing things in all these different categories. So.
Yeah, so that's one thing that, like, to help me get myself well, like, I had to take a look at where I was investing all my time and energy and where I wasn't getting, like, I used to never do anything creative or really even do anything physical. It was more like work hard, play hard, go out with friends, and work, and there wasn't like much outside of that. So I had to get a lot more balance in my life.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, thanks so much for chatting, and I love getting to know you, and I know you will too. Etta is currently accepting new clients. Her availability comes and goes depending on the schedule, but feel free to reach out if you'd like to schedule with Etta or one of our other therapists here. And yeah, thanks for joining.